Jiangnan Zhejiang University is the backdrop for our protagonist's new reality, where Lu Donglai is jolted awake by a classmate's aggressive taunts, while the rest of the class mocks him for being a total deadbeat in lecture. But Lu Donglai realizes he is definitely not dead, even as the professor continues to lecture on the pathetic state of the Lu family, and the students gossip about how Lu Donglai has become the laughingstock of the elite. So it finally clicks that the soul of Yi Tianji has hijacked this body, revealing that the legendary top-tier master was once betrayed by his own, after surviving 5,000 years of cultivation to reach the brink of immortality, only to be stabbed in the back by the person he trusted most. And the culprit is none other than Xuenger, the daughter of the Soul Emperor, who watched Yi Tianji bleed out while mocking his final desperate stand. So he chose to go out in a blaze of glory by self-destructing, dragging his enemies down into the void of the explosion with him. But now Lu Donglai is back and ready to settle every single old grudge, though he quickly realizes the Lu family reputation is a complete disaster, because someone planted a literal needle in his brain to sabotage his nerves, indicating a calculated, malicious plot to keep this boy permanently beneath them. So the original Lu Donglai was actually murdered before Yi Tianji even arrived, and now he stands up ready to fix this broken body and exact his revenge. The professor snaps at Lu Donglai, demanding he sit down immediately, but the former sect master just scoffs at the man's pathetic authority, leaving the teacher visibly rattled by such an unexpected outburst, and Lu Donglai walks right out of the classroom, totally ignoring the man's angry shouting. Determined to live this new life on his own terms with absolute dignity, while noting how this world lacks any real spiritual energy for proper cultivation, so he finds a quiet spot to assess his current physical condition, confirming that the ambient energy on this planet is far too thin for his standards. Yet the primary objective remains extracting that lethal needle buried deep within his skull, and he retreats to the university dormitory to begin the delicate procedure. Checking the room to ensure he has a moment of total privacy, because any interruption during this extraction could be fatal for his new vessel, setting his phone alarm to track the hour he has before his roommates return, then choosing to sit on the floor to stabilize his focus, as he begins to channel his remaining energy to isolate the hidden toxin, knowing the culprit who planted it was skilled enough to hide it from modern medical scans. Though such a crude trick is merely child's play to a master like Yi Tianji, and he starts to circulate his inner power, forcing the blockage to reveal itself, until the needle finally shifts, dislodged by his precise control over the surrounding chi, so he pulls the cursed object free, already marking the culprit for his eventual revenge. Extracting that needle cost Lu Donglai nearly all of his remaining spiritual energy, and the sudden drain leaves the vessel struggling to maintain its own stability, the clock ticking away as he collapses into a state of total exhaustion, gasping for air while realizing just how badly this body has been neglected, his consciousness fading into the dark as physical fatigue takes command of his movements, drifting into a deep sleep before he can even process the successful extraction, waking up later in a hospital room with no clear memory of how he arrived. Checking his surroundings and wondering if the staff moved him after he passed out, noticing a girl sleeping right beside his bed, her presence unexpected in the sterile ward, watching as Xuenger stirs awake, rubbing her eyes with genuine concern for his condition, realizing she's his sister and clearly relieved to see him finally conscious again, calling for the doctor immediately to confirm he's no longer in immediate danger. Hearing the medical staff dismiss his collapse as simple mental exhaustion, observing the doctor's casual diagnosis while Xuenger insists on further tests, listening to Xuenger express her relief, a warmth in her gaze that Yi Tianji has not felt in centuries, reflecting on his past life as the sect master, where such kindness was a total stranger to him, flashing back to the sister who always defended him against their cruel adoptive parents. Remembering how those parents dumped him because of the mental impairment caused by that needle, marveling at the irony of his rebirth, finding himself in the care of the only person who actually loved him, deciding right then that he will protect Xuenger from any further harm, effectively taking over the life of Lu Donglai for good. Lu Donglai wipes away Xuenger's tears to comfort her after his recent collapse, teasing her about turning into a messy crybaby while assuring her he is perfectly fine. Sensing her confusion as Xuenger stares at him, noticing he acts like a different person, catching her off guard when she questions why his eyes suddenly look so sharp and spirited, dismissing her doubt with a smirk when she asks if he is still the same foolish brother, patting her head and confirming that the idiot is gone, replaced by someone much smarter, shifting his tone to a cold warning, swearing vengeance on those who dared to hurt them. Locking in his lethal promise that not a single one of their enemies will escape unscathed, setting his sights on maximizing his energy efficiency now that the needle is finally gone, stepping out into Jiangnan on a bright morning to jumpstart his recovery, drawing stares from the cafeteria crowd as he sits down to inhale an entire feast, shoveling food into his mouth at a frantic pace to fuel his starving vessel. Planning a preemptive strike despite Xuenger's worry, knowing his reputation as a simpleton is fading, ignoring the whispers of onlookers who think he's either a glutton or suffering a mental break, staying vigilant against the unknown mastermind while focusing entirely on restoring his internal reserves, arriving at the Zhejiang University library by the afternoon to dive into the local knowledge, burying himself in piles of books to bridge the gap between his past skills and this world. Lamenting the thin spiritual energy of this realm compared to his cultivation standards, tuning out the gossiping students who assume he's just putting on a show for attention, deciding to synthesize his ancient formulas with these local resources to craft a new path. Lu Donglai scrutinizes the rare herb, determined to adapt his ancient formulas for this low-energy world, reaching the dorm at 1 in the morning and immediately retreating to the balcony to begin his grueling cultivation routine. Realizing this host body is a total wreck with blocked channels and toxic buildup, so he forces a risky energy injection to clear the path, pushing through the agony until he finally hits the first layer of chi condensation, feeling his senses sharpen instantly as he breaches the limits of a normal human, sensing the wind and grass shifting 100 meters away with absolute clarity. But his focused training is cut short when a startled roommate stumbles onto the balcony, asking why he's lurking in the dark instead of sleeping before their morning classes, and the roommate wanders back inside, completely oblivious to the power Lu Donglai just unleashed, leaving him to wonder if his breakthrough actually caused that much of a disturbance, while the roommate lingers, suddenly noticing something different about Lu Donglai's demeanor, who stays guarded, knowing that revealing his true capabilities to school spies would be a death sentence. So he brushes off the roommate's jokes about his new hairstyle and handsome appearance, laughing off the interaction while silently crediting his sister for the makeover, and watching his roommate head back to bed, grateful that the original host had decent friends, though he knows this peaceful life is just a temporary shield against the coming storms, committing himself to the long, arduous road of cultivation to protect those he cares about. As the sun rises over the girls' dormitory to start a new day of hidden challenges, Keeking is raving to her friend about her brother's sudden genius-level intellect, ignoring the teasing questions about her dating life to focus on his transformation, and she insists that he's finally normal despite what everyone else is whispering, though her friend remains skeptical, having heard rumors that paint a much weirder picture, causing Keeking to snap back that those are just baseless slanders against her brother. But the friend pulls out a phone to show her something that demands an explanation, revealing a viral video of Lu Donglai training on the field to mock his efforts, leaving Keeking horrified as she realizes the secret he's been keeping is now public, while the footage shows Lu Donglai throwing punches with surprising, focused intensity. Unaware that his solo practice has turned him into the school's latest laughingstock, because he's only using the true dragon fist to slowly temper his weak physical body, and while he's not yet at his peak, the basics are enough to handle any average fighter until an aggressive stranger steps right into his path, forcing him to pause his training, and Lu Donglai looks up, realizing this guy is not just passing by but intentionally blocking him. So he asks if he's in the way, keeping his tone measured despite the obvious provocation, but the stranger just looms over him, eyes narrowing with a clear hostile intent, demanding to know why Lu Donglai is acting so confident when he's just a target. And the bully flashes a menacing grin, noting that his target looks different from before, which only annoys Lu Donglai, who finds this entire confrontation to be a massive waste of time. As he prepares to deal with yet another obstacle in his path toward total cultivation, Lin Chin screams at Lu Donglai to stay away from Keeking, labeling him a piece of trash, while Lu Donglai internally scoffs at being lectured by a mortal after his past life as a sect master, so he coldly tells Lin Chin that Keeking's business is his own and he needs to leave, prompting Lin Chin to mockingly ask if he's already surrendering. But Lu Donglai calmly retorts that while he cares for Keeking's happiness, Lin Chin simply is not worth his time, which sends Lin Chin into a blind rage over being dismissed as unworthy, and Lu Donglai continues to belittle him, claiming even a menial chore role in the Tianji sect would be too much for him. So Lin Chin lunges forward in a desperate sneak attack, finding Lu Donglai completely unimpressed by his character and lack of discipline. As memories of the Emperor's respect for him contrast sharply with this pathetic display, and Lu Donglai effortlessly catches Lin Chin's fist, noting how long it's been since a human dared to strike him, leaving Lin Chin absolutely horrified as his momentum comes to a dead stop. While Lu Donglai exerts his grip, crushing the aggressor's confidence in a single motion, then he executes the true dragon fist, sending Lin Chin flying across the courtyard in agony, causing nearby students to stare in confusion as they wonder what just happened to Lin Chin, since Lu Donglai barely breaks a sweat, mocking the mortal for his foolish overconfidence, as he briefly reflects on the long path of cultivation from chi condensation to the peak of transcendence, though Lu Donglai admits that even at his low level, handling a mortal is practically child's play, so a defeated Lin Chin limps away toward the infirmary, hiding his shame while claiming it was just an accident. And Lu Donglai watches him go, his aura shifting into something far more dangerous. The crowd recoils at the sheer intensity in Lu Donglai's eyes, while the shaken student begs for a quick exit, completely broken by the encounter, though Lu Donglai remains deep in thought, wondering how his connection to Keeking pulled him into this petty drama, so he forces the student to admit he's just a pawn for someone else. And the guy finally cracks, revealing that Lin Nanhung from the economics department orchestrated this setup with fake photos, shouting that he'll head over to settle the score right now. But Keeking suddenly rushes onto the scene, clearly panicked about her brother's safety, frantically checking Lu Donglai for injuries while ignoring his attempts to brush off her concern, and her gaze hardens into pure defiance as she spots the troublemaker, stepping up to confront Lin Chin directly for daring to mess with her brother, warning him that she will not let him walk away if he keeps causing trouble. So a terrified Lin Chin scrambles to retreat, insisting he has no desire to cross paths with them again, while Lu Donglai introduces his sister to his friend Guru, as he silently analyzes Guru's pure yin physique, noting her internal stagnation, and dismisses his sister's curiosity about his strange behavior, deciding to keep his distance for now, since his priority is tracking down whoever is behind the poison needle plot. and he asks Keeking to confirm the location of the economics building, setting his sights on dragging out every hidden enemy one by one. As Keeking watches him walk away, struck by how much his presence has changed, and Lu Donglai arrives at the Department of Economics to start his hunt. Lu Donglai stands before the economics building, ready to dismantle the organization from the inside, where inside Lin Nanhong dismisses his lackey Lin Qin as a disposable pawn, confident that his secret tests have finally confirmed the connection between Lu Donglai and the Lu family, and he slams his hand onto the desk, channeling dark energy to assert his dominance, declaring that he will personally excise this thorn from his family's side. Believing the timing is perfect to reveal his own identity to the entire university, as he strides out of his hidden office to confront the intruder, openly mocking Lu Donglai as a mere bug that he can crush at his leisure. But Lu Donglai ignores the posturing, his focus locked entirely on the target, and a nervous professor tries to clear the room for his upcoming class, while Lu Donglai coldly demands to know who among them is Lin Nanhong. As the surrounding students whisper in confusion, wondering why a stranger is calling out the name, yet Lin Nanhong just smiles, amused that his prey walked straight into the trap. So his cronies tighten their formation, preparing to rough up the visitor, shouting that Lu Donglai needs to get past them before even dreaming of touching Lin Nanhong, who sighs that their movements are far too slow to pose any real threat. And in a blur of motion, Lu Donglai lunges forward to deliver a crushing blow, slamming his fist into the lead lackey and sending him sprawling to the floor before calmly repeating his question to the room, his patience wearing thin, and he clenches his fist, daring the real Lin Nanhong to finally step forward. The students whisper, wondering if Lu Donglai really has the guts to take on Lin Nanhong. While rumors swirl about Lin Nanhong's military background and his supposedly unbeatable combat strength, and Lin Nanhong stands up to address his challenger, finally revealing himself to the class, striking a pose that makes it clear he has no intention of backing down, with onlookers marveling at his build, convinced that Lu Donglai is digging his own grave. So the classroom teacher tries to intervene, demanding to know what is happening in his room. But Lin Nanhong brushes the professor aside, promising that this will not take long at all, asking Lu Donglai if he wants to move the fight to the playground instead. Yet Lu Donglai refuses, preferring to settle the score right here and now, demanding to know why Lin Nanhong was targeting him in the first place, which only makes Lin Nanhong grin, warning that there are people who simply cannot be provoked, and seeing that negotiation is off the table, Lin Nanhong decides to throw the first punch. While Lu Donglai watches the incoming strike with nothing but cold disappointment, as the powerful blow travels through the air aimed directly at his face, Lu Donglai catches the fist effortlessly, locking Lin Nanhong's attack in a crushing grip, and Lin Nanhong realizes with mounting dread that he cannot move his hand an inch. Lu Donglai prepares to retaliate with a sudden burst of speed, launching a swift kick that connects squarely with Lin Nanhong's midsection, sending the supposedly untouchable bully flying across the room and crashing into the desks, leaving the entire class in absolute disbelief as their local powerhouse hits the floor. A nearby student starts panicking about reporting this assault to the school administration, while the rest of the class watches in complete shock at the sight of Lin Nanhong defeated, murmuring about the Lin family's influence and how Lu Donglai has basically signed his own death warrant. And Lin Nanhong struggles to even stand after the brutal impact. Lu Donglai looms over him, calmly pointing out that Lin Nanhong is the one who dragged this family feud into the school. Lin Nanhong stammers, clearly terrified of whatever punishment Lu Donglai has planned next, forcing Lu Donglai to demand that Lin Nanhong settle the grudge directly without involving innocent families, before Lu Donglai grabs him and forces a painful dislocation of his joints. Causing Lin Nanhong to scream as he is thrown back onto the floor, Lu Donglai asks if he's finally ready to surrender, leading a broken and crying Lin Nanhong to beg for mercy while promising to stay far away from the Lu family forever. But Lu Donglai corrects him, identifying himself as part of the Yi family instead. Then Lu Donglai turns away, noting that if he had not been strong, his sister would have been the one to suffer, walking past the wreckage as students watch from a distance. Lu Donglai dismisses the whole ordeal without a second thought, and Lin Nanhong finally manages to shout for help to get him to the hospital. Just as a teacher storms in, furious about the public violence and vowing to issue a major demerit, the students quickly identify the culprit as the infamous Lu Donglai, leaving the teacher baffled at how someone labeled an idiot could be this arrogant and dangerous, while the school day continues elsewhere, completely unaware of the shift in power. Keeking gets a frantic update about her brother's sudden transformation, while the campus network is already blowing up with viral clips of him crushing Lin Nanhong, and Keeking's friend can't help but fangirl over how cool he looks in the footage, though the mood shifts when she warns that the Lin family's military connections mean serious retaliation, so Keeking rushes to call Lu Donglai, unaware that the school is already issuing a formal demerit, which Lu Donglai receives with total indifference while he's still walking off campus, and he bluntly tells Keeking to stop shouting, completely unbothered by her warnings about the military family, but she keeps pushing the danger of the Lin family coming for revenge, yet Lu Donglai just scoffs at the idea, claiming that mortal politics are beneath his grand cultivation path, so Keeking demands he hide, only for him to reveal he has already left school grounds. And he ignores her panic to declare that his sole focus is getting stronger. Meanwhile, Lin Nanhong is recovering in the hospital, fuming over the humiliation he suffered, and his mother is absolutely spiraling, demanding that someone pay for what happened to her son, while Lin Nanhong begs her to keep his father out of it so he can seek his own vengeance. But his uncle isn't having it, furious that a minor pawn like Lu Donglai would dare strike a Lin. And he vows to ruin Lu Donglai's reputation at Zhejiang University to settle the score, while Lu Donglai checks his own condition, realizing he needs to accelerate his growth, because he knows his current body is far too weak to sustain his true power. So he hops into a taxi to move on to the next phase of his plan and directs the driver to a traditional Chinese medicine shop to start gathering resources. Lu Donglai calculates that refining a specific pill will finally trigger his physical awakening, so he arrives at the Longxiang traditional Chinese medicine shop with a clear shopping list, but the store clerk gives him a hard time, questioning why a regular kid is buying rare ingredients without a prescription, and Lu Donglai just tosses his order at the guy, completely unfazed by the skepticism, though the transaction drains his entire 2-month living budget, leaving him dead broke in the middle of the street. And now he needs a secluded place to refine these pills without any cash left to rent a room, when out of nowhere he spots Keeking sprinting toward him across the city block, and she immediately starts scolding him for ignoring her warning and sneaking out to a pharmacy. So Lu Donglai cuts right to the chase, asking if she can spare some cash for his supplies, leaving Keeking and her friend looking completely dumbfounded by his sudden request. And he explains that he desperately needs a place to process these medicinal herbs, but when she checks her wallet she admits she only has a small amount on her, and Keeking wonders why Lu Donglai would ever ask for help given his usual standoffish attitude, before her friend steps in offering up 4,000 yuan from her own card to help him out, while Lu Donglai takes the card, casually noting the password as he accepts the financial lifeline. Because he knows that if he fails to stabilize his yin energy, she will not even make it to 22, so he promises to return the full amount within a month as he pockets the card, and the friend watches him walk away, struck by an inexplicable sense of trust in his aura, while Lu Donglai muses that while 4,000 yuan is nothing to a master cultivator, it is everything this girl has, and he accepts this twist of fate, acknowledging that perhaps this act of kindness is just his own karmic debt being paid. Lu Donglai acknowledges the girl's lethal condition, noting that her pure yin physique would have killed anyone else, and he accepts this karmic burden, declaring that even the king of hell would not dare claim her life now, so he quickly secures a new place to stay, paying the rent up front to settle in immediately, with the remaining cash earmarked for supplies that will help him generate income much faster. Although the room is a total wreck, Lu Donglai knows it serves his purpose for medicine refinement. And he starts the fire, listening as the pots begin to simmer with the necessary ingredients, managing multiple vessels at once to handle the complex extraction process required for his cultivation, because he knows that herb quality and precise heat control are the only keys to unlocking medicinal potential. So he channels his internal energy, forcing the essence of the herbs to rise from the mix, prioritizing the specific roasting, dissolving, and neutralizing steps needed to overcome Earth's lack of spiritual energy. And he adapts his high-level techniques, accepting that he must work with inferior materials to produce results, focusing his concentration to refine the pill quickly while maintaining total control over the fluctuating heat. Since he treats this delicate process like flipping his hand, he finds the task trivial until an aggressive pounding at his door interrupts his work, signaling that someone has arrived with malicious intent. And Lu Donglai immediately identifies the intruders as they force their way into his dilapidated hideout. Realizing these thugs tracked him down specifically to start a confrontation, so the group of armed men orders their crew to cripple him without a second thought, while Lu Donglai bristles at the timing, furious that they dared interrupt him during the most critical stage of his refinement, and he ignores the mess of his cooking setup to face the thugs head-on, executing the true dragon fist to dismantle the first attacker before he even realizes what hit him. Lu Donglai unleashes the dragon coil, spinning his body to catch the next thug off guard, sending his opponent flying backward with a single, brutal impact to the face, and the thug crashes into his own allies, completely neutralized by the sheer force of the blow. Lu Donglai lands firmly back on his feet, refusing to let the chaos break his rhythm as he clutches his cooking pot, noting the intruder's unexpected internal energy and questioning the existence of cultivators on Earth. The lead thug in the floral shirt mocks him, clearly impressed by the toughness of his skin, yet Lu Donglai does not waste time on talk, delivering a swift kick that sends the arrogant leader reeling across the room, realizing the guy is not a true cultivator but has instead condensed spiritual energy into his body. He recalls the local classification of martial artists who temper their physical forms year-round, and they trade blows, with Lu Donglai realizing these fighters are far stronger than typical mortals. The man in sunglasses taunts him for protecting his pot, oblivious to the true power Lu Donglai is hiding. A sudden clash sends sparks flying as they lock limbs, testing each other's raw physical limits. Lu Donglai curses the disruption, fearing that the interruption has ruined his precise pill refinement, blocking a heavy strike. He sees the man's overconfidence turn into a massive, exploitable opening, driving a palm strike directly into the guy's chest. He sends the leader skidding backward through the dust. The room fills with debris, temporarily masking the aftermath of that crushing blow, and checking his work, he finds the pill is still viable despite the heat fluctuations. The thug stumbles back, suddenly realizing he's way out of his depth against this opponent. Lu Donglai stands surrounded by his own rising aura, ready to use this martial artist as a target dummy for his new strength, while the leader watches in genuine terror, sensing a complete shift in the atmosphere and his opponent's power. The thug screams a death threat, but Lu Donglai ignores him, fully enveloped in a surging golden aura, desperate to end this. The thug lunges forward with a strike he hopes will finally break through. Lu Donglai counters with a technique from the immortal world that he has not used in ages. Their palms collide, creating a shockwave that sends the thug spiraling backward across the room, Realizing the massive gap between his first and second layers of energy, Lu Donglai watches the thug crumple. Completely broken, the thug cannot fathom how a mere college student possesses such terrifying inhuman strength. Lu Donglai cuts off the whining, blasting him with another wave of energy that pins him against the wall, asserting total dominance. He declares that nobody in this world has the right to question his actions, glowing hands ready. He demands to know exactly who sent this pathetic hit squad to take him out. He points a finger toward a nearby table, shattering it with a flick of wrist to prove his point. Choking on his own blood, the thug realizes that his life is hanging by a single thread. Terrified of dying, the man finally cracks and begs for mercy, promising to reveal the family behind the attack. Lu Donglai notes how quickly the coward turned, though he is already planning how to handle the inevitable retaliation, vowing to make the Lin family pay double for the trouble. He looms over the trembling thug, sensing the shift. The thug tries to buy his freedom by highlighting his newfound honesty and cooperation. Lu Donglai sets a single condition for his survival, and the thug jumps at the chance to negotiate, pointing at the wreckage. He demands immediate compensation for the damages done to his rented house. The thug is stunned that this monster is actually haggling over petty cash. Checking if there is any room for argument, Lu Donglai stares him down. The thug scrambles to obey, kicking his fallen companion to hurry up and wire the money to Master Lu immediately. The payment notification pings, confirming a tidy sum has been transferred to his account. Lu Donglai waves them off with zero hesitation, finally clearing the room of his unwanted guests. The thugs waste no time sprinting toward the exit, terrified he might change his mind about letting them leave. Bickering amongst themselves as they flee, the goons realize fighting a monster like him is a complete death sentence, knowing their limits in this harsh world. They accept that raw influence is the only currency that actually matters. Lu Donglai watches them vanish, his mind already drifting toward the persistent problems of his current cultivation level. Those medicinal herbs were supposed to be his ticket to the third layer, yet they barely pushed him past the second. Staring at the meager handful of pills remaining, he wonders if this is truly enough to stabilize his volatile internal state. Tossing the last of the supply into his mouth, he prepares for one final, desperate attempt at refinement. Golden energy flares around his seated form, a last-ditch effort to stop his cultivation from slipping back down to the first layer. Dark, viscous impurities begin leaching from his skin as the internal pressure reaches a breaking point. Something deep within his vision snaps into focus. Igniting with a strange and brilliant intensity, realization hits him hard as he discovers a hidden, dormant bloodline buried deep inside the original owner's physical body. The legendary purple extreme demon eye awakens, a power capable of stripping away reality to reveal the true essence of any object. Scanning the room with his newfound sight, he observes the world shifting into a realm of raw, transparent data. Focus settles on the refrigerator, which now appears as a structural blueprint stripped of all its mundane facades. Even he cannot help but marvel at this heaven-defying aptitude, a blessing that far exceeds his own expectations. The sheer intensity of the ability begins to strain his physical vessel, drawing heavily on his limited reserves, stumbling back as the drain becomes too much. He recognizes that his current strength is far too low to sustain such a technique. Juggling the costs of refining herbs and basic survival, he knows he needs to get much stronger and fast. Lu Donglai laments the harsh reality that even in this world, money remains the ultimate shackle. His phone pings with a notification that catches his attention immediately, reading about a massive 10 million yuan profit from a single Ming Dynasty vase. He sees a path forward with the purple extreme demon eye at his disposal. Hunting for hidden treasures feels like a foolproof plan, wasting no time. He sets off toward the West City Antique Market to put his new vision to the test. Arriving at the bustling marketplace, he hopes his supernatural sight will uncover something truly valuable. Taking a steadying breath, he prepares to push his limits once again, activating the purple extreme demon eye. His vision shifts as the world around him begins to glow with hidden energy. A merchant approaches him with a blue and white porcelain vase, claiming it is an official Ming Dynasty piece. Scanning the object with his glowing eyes, Lu Donglai pierces through the merchant's elaborate sales pitch. The truth reveals itself instantly as the word fake appears branded into the surface of the ceramic, calling out the merchant for using clumsy artificial aging techniques. He walks away unimpressed by the amateur swindle. Wandering through the stalls, everything he scans seems like low-grade trash unworthy of his time. Feeling the heavy toll of the ability on his limited energy, he realizes he needs to be much more selective. Suddenly, a faint fluctuation of spiritual energy pulls his focus toward a different section of the market. Spotting a nondescript iron block sitting on a table, he knows he has finally found a genuine artifact. Even though the energy is faint, the rarity of such a find in this depleted world is undeniable. A mysterious martial practitioner suddenly crosses his path, drawing his intense curiosity. Realizing there are far more powerful individuals hiding in plain sight than he originally imagined, he stays on guard as the vendor tries to negotiate a price. Lu Donglai wonders if drawing attention to this specific iron block is a dangerous mistake. Lu Donglai steps up to the stall to challenge the vendor on his absurd pricing. Calculating his next move, the merchant decides to target the kid for a massive scam, quoting inflated prices for the junk while Lu Donglai calls out the blatant robbery. Deciding to use the situation as a cover, he keeps his true intentions hidden behind a smirk, offering to take the worthless fan if the merchant throws in the iron block for free. Securing the genuine treasure for a pittance, Lu Donglai leaves the vendor laughing at his supposed stupidity. Snapping the fan open with a flourish, he prepares to exit the market with his prize, knowing full well he just flipped a valuable antique for an easy profit on top of his main acquisition. Commotion erupts in the distance as someone cries out for urgent medical assistance. A young man rushes to his collapsing grandfather, panic rippling through the surrounding crowd. Barking orders at his companions to call an ambulance, the situation spirals into chaos. Observing the scene, Lu Donglai realizes the young man holds enough authority to command a martial practitioner. Ignoring the drama to focus on his own goals, he turns away from the medical emergency. An ear-splitting promise of 100,000 yuan reward stops him dead in his tracks. Weighing the massive payout, Lu Donglai shifts his priority towards saving the old man. Reports of the ambulance being 10 minutes away heighten the desperation of the onlookers. Stepping into the circle, he probes the crowd for any potential first responders. Watching the bystanders shrink away from the life-or-death responsibility, he sighs at their cowardice. The young man cradles the fading elder, begging for any kind of intervention. Pushing through the wall of spectators, Lu Donglai moves in to take control of the crisis. Lu Donglai cuts through the crowd, making it clear he's taking over the rescue. Announcing he can save the elder, he steps into the center of the panicked group. The young man stares at him, desperate for any medical credentials that Lu Donglai clearly lacks. Brushing off the lack of a medical license, he insists on his ability to resolve the crisis. A guard in camouflage tries to block him, questioning who would take the blame if things go south. Lu Donglai simply grabs the man's arm, forcing him to let go of the elder, warning that any further delays will cost the old man his life. He demands immediate cooperation. The guard freezes, completely caught off guard by the sheer physical strength Lu Donglai just displayed. Taking command, he orders them to sit the elder up before they lose their only window. Focusing on the elder's blocked heart meridians, Lu Donglai prepares to channel his spiritual energy. Gathering a surge of blue qi in his palm, he prepares to force the obstruction loose. Focusing his will, he strikes the elder's back with a precise high-energy blow. The impact ripples through the elder, forcibly clearing the stagnant energy blockage inside his body. Blood sprays from the elder's mouth as the internal pressure finally finds a release. The elder slumps forward onto the ground, leaving the bodyguard to scream in immediate panic. Accusing Lu Donglai of assaulting Old Master Han, the guard winds up for a desperate counterattack. Dodging the clumsy strike with effortless grace, Lu Donglai counters with a sharp blow to the guard's face, sending the man sprawling across the pavement. He barely breaks his stride in the process. Scrambling to get back on his feet, the guard bellows at him not to run away, pointing a finger in accusation. The guard prepares to blame Lu Donglai for the elder's critical condition. Lu Donglai warns the guard to stay back, but the man is already reeling from the shock, staring at the medical miracle with wide eyes. He's completely unable to process what just happened. Before the confrontation escalates further, a sudden voice cuts through the tension. Old Man Han regains consciousness and begins to cough, pulling the attention of his panicked attendant. Catching his breath, Old Man Han notes that the heavy pressure on his chest has finally vanished. The elder sternly tells the bodyguard Chen to stand down and recognize his savior. Expressing his deep gratitude, Old Man Han reaches out, but Lu Donglai dismisses the sentiment in favor of his payment. Bystanders watch the exchange with confusion, wondering if a hero should really be so blunt about his reward. Ignoring the onlookers, Lu Donglai reminds Chen of their initial agreement for the 100,000 yuan, laughing off the blunt demand. Old Man Han finds the young man's straightforward attitude refreshing. Chen quickly obeys the elder's command to settle the debt immediately, handing over the thick stack of cash. Chen finally completes the transaction. Murmurs ripple through the crowd as they gawk at the massive pile of money changing hands. Clutching the payment, Lu Donglai barely notices the jealous eyes of the people watching him. Turning to leave now that the business is concluded, he prepares to walk away. Old Man Han calls out, asking him to wait for one more urgent request. Admitting that his condition is a chronic issue that doctors have never managed to cure, the elder reveals his true desperation. Locking eyes with him, Old Man Han asks if Lu Donglai possesses the power to provide a permanent fix. Weighing the challenge, Lu Donglai pauses as he considers the complexity of the elder's failing health. Identifying the blockage as a standard mortal ailment, he decides that a combination of his cultivation base and a pill will do the trick. Confirming his confidence, Lu Donglai brushes aside any doubt about his healing abilities. His companion stammers in disbelief, insisting that even top-tier hospitals have already given up on the elder. Brushing off the medical establishment's failures, Lu Donglai asks for the required payment directly. Old Man Han signals for clarification, clearly caught off guard by the bold demand. Setting his price at 100,000 per year, Lu Donglai guarantees another 2 decades of life. Onlookers start whispering among themselves, calling the 2 million yuan price tag an absolute ripoff. Unexpectedly, Old Man Han bursts into laughter at the audacity of the proposal, calling the steep price surprisingly cheap. The elder realizes he is dealing with a true master. Agreeing to the terms, Old Man Han asks for an account number to wire the funds tomorrow. Rejecting the offer of credit, Lu Donglai insists on a cash-only transaction for his services, proposing a meeting in 2 days at this very spot. He agrees to perform the treatment then. Closing the deal, Old Man Han respectfully asks for the name of his benefactor. Identifying himself simply as Lu, he starts walking away without looking back, silencing his skeptical assistant Zio Li. Old Man Han defends the young man's reputation, pointing out the raw power and medical skill displayed. The elder insists that the cost is justified, trusting his decades of military experience. Old Man Han maintains that his judgment of people is flawless. Walking away from the market, Lu Donglai reflects that the deal was a productive use of his time, calculating the value of the spiritual iron he plans to buy. He looks forward to resolving his funding shortages. Suddenly, a sharp realization cuts through his thoughts as he senses movement nearby. Noticing 3 sets of footsteps trailing him, Lu Donglai prepares for an inevitable confrontation. Calling out his stalkers, Lu Donglai confirms they have been tailing him for blocks. Glancing back over his shoulder, he weighs the possibilities of who sent these thugs, questioning if they work for Lin Nanhong or the Elder's nervous bodyguards. Recognizing the gait of these men from his earlier run-in, he keeps his guard up, warning his lackeys to tread lightly. The leader admits that this kid is way out of their league, tailing Lu Donglai from a distance. The trio keeps their eyes locked on his movements. Deciding he has had enough of these persistent shadows, Lu Donglai stops walking, choosing a quiet spot to end this. He turns to face his pursuers head-on, closing the distance in the narrow alleyway. The 3 thugs corner their target, standing his ground. Lu Donglai waits for them to make the first move, smirking behind his sunglasses. The leader taunts Lu Donglai for his lack of awareness. Dropping his guard, Lu Donglai calmly sets his belongings aside. Aura flaring with lethal intent, he decides that these pests are no longer worth sparing, reeling from the sudden shift in pressure. The 3 thugs lose their composure, sensing the sheer danger radiating from him. The leader starts to sweat, screaming at his companions to attack before it is too late. He drops all pretenses, charging into the fray. The 3 men launch their desperate assault at Lu Donglai. Measuring their speed against his own cultivation level, he remains completely unimpressed. Bracing for the impact, Lu Donglai prepares to counter their combined strike with ease, shattering their expectations. He moves faster than any of them could ever react. Lu Donglai deflects the incoming blows with surgical precision, sending his attackers flying backward before they can even register the contact. Desperate to salvage the situation, the wounded thug lunges forward with a concealed blade. Keeping his cool, Lu Donglai watches the steel arc toward him, catching the blade between his fingers with effortless control. He reminds the attacker that this is the second chance he has already wasted, delivering a swift kick to the man's gut. Lu Donglai forces the dagger from his grip, questioning why the thug would risk his life for a paycheck from Lin Nanhong. The man laughs through the blood, confident that his trap has finally sprung. Curiosity piqued, Lu Donglai wonders what kind of scheme the man is talking about. Sirens wail in the distance as police cruisers swarm the alleyway. Surrounding the scene, the officers cut off any path for retreat, ordering everyone to hit the ground. A senior officer steps out to take control. Knowing that even his current cultivation cannot tank bullets, Lu Donglai decides to play along, suspicious of the perfect timing. He realizes this setup was orchestrated from the start. Pointing out the true aggressors, Lu Donglai explains his self-defense to the officer, mocking the claim. The officer insists that the weapon in Lu Donglai's hand is proof enough of guilt, ignoring the protest. The police haul the wounded thugs away while detaining Lu Donglai, smirking as he is dragged off. The thug whispers that Lu Donglai is truly finished now, forced into the back of a cruiser. Lu Donglai is carted away toward the station. Lu Donglai demands to know the real motive behind this detainment. The officer puffs his cigarette and asks if Lu Donglai really needs it spelled out. Confirming his suspicions, Lu Donglai names Lin Nanhong as the one pulling the strings. The officer laughs, calling him a disposable pawn for crossing a powerful master, ignoring the lecture on influence. Lu Donglai stays silent while weighing his options, silently swearing retribution. He commits the name Lin Nanhong to his hit list. Meanwhile, word reaches Lin Nanhong that the police have successfully apprehended their target. Satisfied, Lin Nanhong orders his men to bypass the interrogation and throw Lu Donglai straight into prison. An associate grins, confirming that his own thugs are already waiting inside to handle the rest. The prison cell darkens as a hulking figure eyes the entrance, ready for a new inmate. Back on the road, the cruiser speeds toward the West City station. Lu Donglai calmly warns the officer that delaying his release will be a massive mistake. The officer scoffs at the threat, mocking the kid for still not grasping his dire situation. Unmoved, Lu Donglai tells them to release him immediately if they value their careers. Dark intent flashes in his eyes as he promises they will regret this decision. A surge of pressure fills the car, visibly shaking the officer's resolve. The officer panics, demanding to know if this kid is actually backed by someone significant. His partner tries to calm him down, insisting that Lin Nanhong holds all the power here. The cruiser pulls into the West City police station, ending the transport phase. Guards bark at Lu Donglai to exit the vehicle and enter the holding facility. Officers confirm Lu Donglai's apprehension, reporting back to their corrupt superiors that the job is done. The head officer gloats over the forged confession, already plotting to dump him into prison cell 137. Lu Donglai calls them out for the blatant frame-up, but they just laugh at his empty accusations. A sickening grin spreads across the guard's face. Relishing the thought of breaking this kid, shadow-cloaked figures loom over Lu Donglai, mocking the idea that a mere student could resist them. Guards swarm him to strip away his belongings. Desperate to leave him defenseless inside the facility, they shove Lu Donglai toward the notorious heavy cell 137, ignoring his final cold glare. Realizing the setup was orchestrated long before his arrival, Lu Donglai keeps his focus sharp. The heavy iron door of cell 137 grinds open, inviting him into his own cage. He warns the guards to keep their distance, showing no fear of the thugs waiting inside. Steel bars slam shut behind Lu Donglai, sealing him in with the prison's worst. Glowing red eyes watch from the darkness as he steps into the lion's den. A scarred inmate steps forward, boasting about the special care Lin Nanhong ordered for their guest. The thug bares his gold-capped teeth, craving the violence he is about to unleash. He commands his lackeys to teach the new blood the rules of the cell. Lu Donglai notes how much capital Lin Nanhong burned just to orchestrate this petty hit. The thug lunges at him, expecting an easy takedown from a college student. Lu Donglai catches the attacker's hand, cutting off the assault with a single firm grip. He calmly orders the thugs to get lost, radiating a pressure that makes them recoil. The scarred leader stumbles back, furious that his intimidation tactics failed to break the kid. The scarred leader ignores the warning and charges in with a desperate swing. Lu Donglai meets the attack head-on with a precise strike of his own, shattering the thug's wrist instantly and sending him reeling back in agony. High-pitched screams fill the cell as the wounded man cradles his mangled hand. The other inmates shift around Lu Donglai, sensing the sudden power gap. A new, tougher-looking prisoner steps into the light to address the situation. He looms over Lu Donglai, reciting the tired prison mantra about tigers bowing their heads, promising to shatter every bone in the kid's body as part of the contract. Lu Donglai listens to the threats about Master Lin's orders with complete indifference. Laughter erupts from the onlookers as they urge the boss to spill some blood. Boss Scar grabs Lu Donglai's shoulder, demanding he kneel and lick his feet. That hand gets swatted away as Lu Donglai counters the disrespect with zero hesitation. He repeats his demand for them to disappear before things get even uglier. Boss Scar's grin vanishes, replaced by a snarling fit of pure rage, ordering his entire crew to swarm Lu Donglai and finish the job now. Reminding everyone that Master Lin wants this kid reduced to nothing but meat, they rush forward in a coordinated wave to crush the solitary target. Lu Donglai scans the group, noting they all reek of past sins and violence. His hand begins to crackle with an intense, surging energy, deciding that these thugs are not worth the effort of holding back anymore. The first thug lunges in with a desperate, screaming assault. Lu Donglai sidesteps the initial rush without breaking his rhythm, delivering a precise strike that drops the attacker before he even registers the movement. Other inmates close in simultaneously, attempting to overwhelm him with sheer numbers. Lu Donglai catches an incoming fist and redirects the force into a brutal counterkick. Bones crunch under the pressure as he systematically disables their primary limbs. Agonizing wails fill the room while the attackers realize they are completely outmatched. Bodies scatter across the floor, leaving the survivors clutching their mangled limbs in defeat. Lu Donglai dismisses their pathetic attempts, noting their power is nowhere near a threat. The boss watches his crew crumble, his frustration boiling over into open hostility. Stepping forward himself, he readies his stance to personally handle the situation, mocking the kid's skills while preparing to crush him with his own bare hands. Lu Donglai just sighs at the constant, useless posturing from his opponent. The boss launches a heavy, enraged strike aimed directly at his face. Noting the attacker's speed is actually decent for a regular martial artist, Lu Donglai deflects the blow but criticizes the complete lack of proper technique. Infuriated, the boss channels his energy into a signature high-impact charging move. A purple aura flares around him as he prepares the bull-head collision. Lu Donglai welcomes the incoming assault as a perfect test for his own chi condensation. Planting his feet, he catches the full weight of the strike to measure his growth. Boss Scar can't believe his eyes as his full-force strike fails to budge the kid. Lu Donglai clamps down on his fist with a grip of solid iron, twisting the arm until the boss is forced to howl in sudden, sharp pain. He shoves the boss back, sending him stumbling to his knees in the dirt. Following up instantly with a ruthless kick that launches him across the floor, airborne and helpless, Boss Scar crashes into the wall with a sickening thud, coughing up blood. He stares at Lu Donglai, who has not even broken a sweat, asking calmly if the boss wants to keep going with this one-sided beatdown, refusing to yield. The desperate man pulls a concealed blade from his waistband, charging forward with a feral scream. He lunges to bury the knife in Lu Donglai. Unimpressed by the amateur display, the kid just sighs at such pathetic stubbornness. Catching the blade between two fingers mid-swing, he brings the attack to a halt. The boss freezes, realizing his desperate gamble was countered without any real effort. Lu Donglai asks if this cheap weapon is really the best he has to offer, snapping the steel blade in two with his bare hands. He leaves the thugs trembling. The beaten boss finally gives up, grabbing Lu Donglai's arm to beg for mercy. Casting a cold gaze toward the rest of the gang, the kid demands another challenger, realizing they are completely outclassed. The remaining thugs drop to their knees in terror, pleading for their lives. They claim they were only coerced into this by Boss Scar, desperate to avoid a beating. They sell their leader out to save their own skins. Lu Donglai demands to know exactly what kind of payout Lin Nanhong promised these thugs. Trembling, the battered boss admits to a measly 100,000 and a sentence reduction, sneering at the price of a human hand. The kid makes it clear how little their loyalty is worth. Declaring himself the new authority in the room, he waits for anyone to challenge his dominance. The panicked inmates immediately scramble to hail him as the new prison king, dismissing the title as boring. He only cares that Old Man Han gets 2 days of peace. Time shifts forward 2 days as the prison facility stands quiet under the sun. A phone sits on a desk, buzzing with an incoming call that breaks the silence. A man at the desk stares at the screen, annoyed that someone is actually trying to reach Lu Donglai. He drops the bombshell that Lu Donglai is locked up in the West City police station. Shock hits the caller, who can barely process the news that the master was actually arrested. Demanding the immediate release of Lu Donglai, the caller threatens whoever dared to make the arrest. Wang Dahai laughs off the threat, claiming he has the authority to keep the prisoner locked away. The connection cuts out abruptly as Wang Dahai hangs up, leaving the other man fuming, slamming his hand onto the desk. He lets his rage boil over at the audacity of the police. Chen Yang tries to calm him down, urging him not to let his blood pressure spike. Ignoring the advice, the older man barks out an order for Chen Yang to step forward. He commands Chen Yang to storm the prison and drag Lu Donglai out by force. Saluting the order, Chen Yang swears he will complete the mission without fail. Meanwhile, Wang Dahai remains smugly confident, underestimating exactly who he just locked up. Wang Dahai counts his bribe money, feeling like he's hit the jackpot with his latest prisoner. Cigarette dangling, he grins at the cash, completely oblivious to the massive storm heading his way. His peaceful moment is cut short as the door to his office is kicked off its hinges. Irritation flares as Wang Dahai shouts at the intruder, demanding to know who has the guts to barge in before he can finish his outburst. A heavy boot smashes through the entrance. Chen Yang steps into the room, his presence alone silencing the entire station. Barking at the audacity of the break-in, Wang Dahai demands to know if the soldier understands the severity of his crime. Reality hits hard when Chen Yang delivers a brutal slap that sends Wang Dahai reeling, flying backward over his own desk. The corrupt officer realizes he picked the wrong fight. Cash scatters across the floor while Chen Yang looms over him, showing no mercy, screaming in rage. Wang Dahai threatens to blow Chen Yang's head off for the humiliation. He lunges for his service weapon, desperate to regain the upper hand. Chen Yang does not blink, simply holding up his military credentials as Wang Dahai's pistol points directly at his face. Suddenly realizing the gravity of his situation, Wang Dahai drops his bravado and begs for a diplomatic conversation. Chen Yang makes it crystal clear that he is here for one reason only, and that is to secure the immediate release of Lu Donglai. Ice-cold realization washes over Wang Dahai as he hears the name of the man he's been holding. Trying to justify the arrest with procedural excuses, Wang Dahai quickly learns that the rules do not apply when the military is involved. Demanding to see Lu Donglai without another word of delay, Chen Yang forces the officer to comply, scrambling to his feet. A terrified Wang Dahai leads the way toward the holding area. Panic sets in for Wang Dahai as he prays that Lu Donglai is still alive in cell 137. Wang Dahai leads the group down the hall toward cell 137, oblivious to the scene waiting inside. Bragging about how he's been entertaining the prisoner, the captain expects the kid to be broken by now, promising his cronies that the job is well in hand. He remains completely confident in his control. Inside the cell, Boss Scar is busy acting like a subservient lackey, offering fruit to the prisoner. Chen Yang sits calmly while his former captors grovel at his feet, desperately trying to please him. Turning the corner, Wang Dahai stops dead in his tracks. Witnessing his top enforcer acting like a servant, Chen Yang meets the officer's eyes with a cold, piercing stare that cuts through the tension, throwing the two-day deadline back in his face. Wang Dahai refuses to let him go so easily, snarling that fighting skills will not save him. The captain claims Scar was only the first level of discipline, ordering a total cutoff of food supplies. He plots to starve the prisoner into submission. Chen Yang dismisses the empty threats, warning the captain that he's officially run out of chances. Laughing at the prisoner's defiance, Wang Dahai mocks him for still having the nerve to be angry. Suddenly, the situation explodes as Boss Scar lunges, slamming his fist directly into the captain's face. Reeling from the unexpected strike, Wang Dahai screams in confusion. Demanding to know who dared attack him, Boss Scar does not hesitate, grabbing the captain by the throat and demanding to know who gave him the right to enforce such laws, terrified by the betrayal. Wang Dahai watches as Boss Scar immediately pivots to fawning over Lu Donglai. Bowing low, Boss Scar confirms that Master Lu is safe and that Elder Han is waiting for him. Lu Donglai pauses, staring ahead with a look that suggests he is not finished with this place yet. His subordinates look on in complete confusion, wondering why he would choose to stay behind, reminding the captain of his earlier promises. Lu Donglai refuses to leave until the debt for his mistreatment is paid in full. Lu Donglai points a finger at the captain, demanding that he kneels on the floor. Trembling in pure panic, the captain screams that he is begging for his life, dropping to his knees. The captain stammers out his desperate plea to be released. Boss Scar cuts him off with a brutal kick, forcing the man's head into the dirt, crushed against the concrete. The captain chokes out his pathetic, stuttering apology. Lu Donglai leans against the bars, coldly informing him that the volume is not nearly high enough. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the captain begs to leave and admits he was wrong to offend such a man. Boss Scar lands another heavy blow, ensuring the apology is as humiliating as possible. Leaning down to inspect his work, Lu Donglai watches the broken man bleed into the floorboards. Satisfied with the spectacle, Lu Donglai decides he's finally heard enough to consider the matter closed. Bowing low, Boss Scar gestures for him to exit, offering every ounce of respect he can muster. The prison inmates watch in disbelief as the man they feared now acts like a mere servant, trying to make excuses for the earlier disrespect. Boss Scar gets silenced instantly by a single command. Whispers ripple through the cell block as the prisoners realize the true scale of Lu Donglai's influence. Walking out of the facility at last, Lu Donglai finds an armed military operative waiting for him. Boss Scar wipes sweat from his brow, openly weeping now that the source of his terror has departed. Pleading one last time for leniency, Boss Scar tries to stay in the man's good graces. Lu Donglai stops to question the waiting guard, confirming his affiliation with the military. Snapping to attention, the first lieutenant salutes and confirms he is there on Elder Han's direct orders. Nodding to the soldier, Lu Donglai finally walks toward the transport to leave the prison behind. The heavy military transport pulls away from the prison grounds, leaving the facility behind as it speeds toward the city, heading straight for Zhangjiang University where the real power players are waiting. Meanwhile, young Master Lin is losing his patience while nursing his injured arm. A text from Director Wang confirms his worst fear. The Han family has already snatched the target. Reading the message sinks in, leaving him spiraling as the reality of the situation hits. Panicking at the mention of the Han name, he realizes he's stepped into something way bigger than himself. Snapping at his subordinate to get out of his face, the stress turns into pure rage, kicking his chair away in a fit of nerves. He paces the room like a cornered animal, desperate to save his own skin. He decides his father and brother are the only ones who can fix this. Back on the road, the military vehicle pulls up to a secure estate. The lieutenant warns Lu Donglai that Elder Han is already fuming about the situation, casually brushing off the threat. Lu Donglai wonders aloud how the old man knew he could pull off a rescue. Suspecting the elder is a high-ranking military veteran, Lu Donglai notes the man's lingering battle scars, confirming his theory. The lieutenant explains that no other doctor could touch those old wounds, apologizing for the background check. The soldier admits they had to be sure of his identity. Referencing his status as an abandoned member of the Lu family, the lieutenant questions his true standing. Laughing off the interrogation, Lu Donglai challenges the soldier to see if his medical skills are actually up to the task. Hopping out of the transport, he prepares to face the consequences of his actions. The lieutenant watches him approach, ready to see if the rumors about this man's power are even half true. Blocking the soldier's sudden strike, Lu Donglai does not even break his stride. Wondering if this is the extent of their assessment, he barely feels the pressure, realizing his opponent is a genuine martial artist. The soldier drops his guard and offers a nod, agreeing that being a martial artist is a perfect cover. Lu Donglai keeps his true identity under wraps, accepting the invitation to treat Elder Han. He follows the soldier into the estate, stepping into the grand hall. The atmosphere shifts from military tension to family drama. Exploding with rage at the sight of them, Han Feng demands to know why they brought a street quack, ignoring his son's outburst. Elder Han insists on trusting his own judgment, pushing forward his own choice. Han Feng introduces a famous American doctor to handle the illness. Smirking at the competition, the doctor claims Elder Han has been bewitched by a villain trying to calm his grandfather. The grandson urges him to give Lu Donglai a fair chance. Laughing loudly at the prospect of a rival, the American doctor labels anyone else a shameless charlatan. Locking eyes with the arrogant doctor, Lu Donglai steps into the center of the room. Asking if he is the one being called a fraud, he stands his ground against the criticism. Watching the exchange, Han Feng remains unconvinced that this kid can do anything, mocking his youth. The doctor adjusts his glasses while looking Lu Donglai up and down. Screaming at his father, Han Feng insists that letting a student perform surgery is complete insanity. Dismissing the concerns, the doctor argues that real medicine is based on science alone, pointing at Lu Donglai. He demands to know what tools a kid like that could possibly possess, retorting with ice in his voice. Lu Donglai tells them that true medical skill requires no props. Han Feng lashes out, swearing that he refuses to let Lu Donglai anywhere near his father. Offering a compromise, Lu Donglai suggests letting Dr. Smith take the first crack at the diagnosis. Mocking the suggestion, Han Feng sneers that Lu Donglai finally knows his place. Throwing money at the problem, Han Feng promises the doctor any amount required to get the job done, shifting his focus back to the expert. Elder Han asks Lu Donglai if he still wants to intervene, snapping at the insolence. Han Feng demands to know why Lu Donglai is still talking back to him. Keeping his composure, Lu Donglai stares him down with a cold intensity, warning that he only tolerates this for Elder Han's sake. Lu Donglai cuts the man off, slamming his palm onto a nearby table. Lu Donglai shatters the wood with a burst of internal force, telling Han Feng that he will end up just like the broken furniture if he keeps pushing. Reeling from the display, Han Feng breaks into a cold sweat as the reality hits him. Cutting the argument short, Lu Donglai declares that further debate is now off the table, chiming in with a smirk. Dr. Smith reminds everyone that martial arts prowess has nothing to do with medicine, brandishing a syringe. The doctor prepares to administer his treatment. Reaching for the elderly man, Dr. Smith prepares the injection, piercing the skin. The doctor injects the mysterious fluid directly into Elder Han. Checking in on his father, Han Feng watches as Elder Han complains of a sudden heat, sweating profusely. Elder Han realizes that this sensation is far from normal, waving off the concern. Dr. Smith insists that these are just the cells activating, convulsing as his color shifts. Elder Han begins to suffer a violent reaction to the procedure. Elder Han screams in agony as his body begins to fail completely, clutching his chest. The old man feels like his insides are literally being torn apart. Staring at the data, Dr. Smith panics while realizing his calculated dosage has gone completely haywire. Grabbing the doctor by the collar, Han Feng demands an explanation for his father's catastrophic decline, coughing up blood. Elder Han weakens rapidly while an assistant fumbles to call for medical backup. Stepping into the chaos, Lu Donglai brushes past the others to take control of the situation, ignoring the protests from the staff. He pushes his way toward the dying patient. Checking Elder Han's pulse, Lu Donglai assesses the true damage caused by the botched injection, diagnosing the issue. He explains that the drug has triggered a massive eruption of old, hidden injuries. Interrupting the medical team, Lu Donglai brushes off the doctor's desperate claims that intervention is now impossible. Silencing the room, he lands a sharp blow on Dr. Smith to stop his frantic interference, turning to the desperate son. Lu Donglai calmly assures Han Feng that he can stabilize the situation. Warning the others of the severity, he notes that Elder Han is in much worse condition than before, stating his terms clearly. Lu Donglai demands additional payment for the life-saving measures he's about to perform, throwing caution to the wind. Han Feng agrees to any price as long as his father survives. Satisfied with the deal, Lu Donglai produces a single mysterious pill from his pocket, holding the medicine out. He offers the golden bead to the struggling man. Pressing the pill into his mouth, Lu Donglai forces Elder Hand to swallow the remedy immediately. Channeling his internal energy, he begins a specialized technique to purge the toxins from the old man's system, vomiting a dark, viscous fluid. Elder Hand finally begins the agonizing process of expelling the poison from his body. Han Feng panics at the sight of Elder Han collapsing after the purge, howling accusations at Lu Donglai for supposedly harming his father during the treatment. Footsteps thunder through the corridor as he screams for security to intervene immediately. Armed guards swarm the room and surround Lu Donglai under orders to apprehend him for malpractice.